Today we're going to be taking a look at the new king of value. Ladies and gentlemen, this here is the best new budget 1080p and 144Hz gaming monitor. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. Today we're going to be taking a look at a monster valued budget 144Hz gaming monitor, the ASUS VP249QGR. And if you're new here and you want to see other gaming monitor review videos just like this one, then hit the subscribe button down below and also that notification bell. That way you never miss an episode. But yeah, let's check this thing out. Big thanks to ASRock and their new Z490 motherboards for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so just like all my other monitor reviews, before getting into the actual gaming performance, let's quickly take a look at the stat sheet. The ASUS VP249QGR is rocking a 23.8-inch 1080p 144Hz IPS panel with a 1 millisecond response time and FreeSync technology. To dive a little deeper into some of those, the 1 millisecond advertised response ratio is 1 millisecond MPRT and 4 milliseconds of gray to gray. I'll have an article linked down in the description that describes the difference. At the end of the day, it is going to be slower than a TM panel because it is IPS, but if you're like me and your livelihood doesn't depend on every last millisecond and you're not a professional esport gamer, then there's like no lag in this monitor at all and it's perfectly fine. One other thing to note is that the FreeSync range is perfect at 48 to 144 Hz, and although it's not G-Sync supported, you can manually enable it yourself, and boy is the experience awesome. Here I was playing some Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and with this test system I was getting around 60 to 85 FPS, and it was actually looking a bit choppy with some screen tearing. However, whenever I enabled G-Sync, it became an honestly incredible gaming experience. It felt super smooth, and enabling it didn't add any extra lag or issues like some budget monitors do. And one more thing from the spec sheet, for those of you that are interested in doing color work, this IPS panel covers 99% of the sRGB scale, which is impressive. Now, one more topic before we get into the gaming performance. We'll get to that soon, and I promise it's worth the wait. Now it's time for a quick physical tour. Starting with connectivity, here you can see that there's one HDMI port, one display port, VGA, and then an audio out if you want to plug your headphones directly into it. Staying on the back of the monitor, you can see that this is VESA compatible if you want to use your own stand, and honestly, that would be a pretty good idea. The stand is easily the worst part about this monitor, but if you think about it, that's actually a good thing because I would rather my money go towards a good panel and not the stand. But yeah, this thing is pretty terrible. First off, it's super flimsy as you can see here, even when pressing the underneath buttons, which by the way, I wish they would have used a joystick like the MSI monitor I reviewed a few weeks ago. By pressing these buttons, you actually cause the stand to wobble a bit, which obviously isn't fun. The stand also only supports a tilt movement. There's no height adjustment, swivel, or pivoting options. Moving away from the stand, these are my favorite tiny bezels on the top and sides, and then the classic chin that almost every monitor has these days with some subtle ASUS branding. Overall, the physical tour is about average of what you should expect with this budget of a gaming monitor, but now let's get into gaming performance because that's where this thing definitely shines. I ran all of my monitors testing with this $1,000 full setup guide that I'm about to make a video on, but you may recognize this $700 gaming PC as I recently did a dedicated video on it. The first thing that I noticed about this monitor was how refreshing it was to game on a smaller 23.8-inch display. I've been using nothing but 27-inch monitors for several years now, and I forgot about the competitive advantage of a smaller monitor. This is also certainly personal preference, but the fact is you don't have to look at as much screen real estate with games like first-person shooters especially. You can just see everything that you need to without having to move your head so much, and that's a pretty decent competitive advantage. I also definitely need to talk about these viewing angles. Now this is an IPS display, so we know they're going to be great, but honestly looking at this monitor felt kind of weird, but in a good way. Just looking at this monitor, you can certainly tell that it's a budget monitor, mostly because of that cheap plasticky stand, but when you start to rotate it and look at those beautiful viewing angles, it looks like you're rotating a premium monitor. It feels like it's out of place, but like in a good way. The display on this thing is just so much nicer compared to what it actually looks like, but I'm perfectly okay with that. Also, like I said earlier, the G-Sync performance was just incredible, and overall, I just had a really fun experience gaming on this monitor. At $160 brand new off Amazon, I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you, this one is gonna be really tough to beat in terms of value value for quite some time. I do hear that the little bit more expensive AOC 24G2 is worth checking out. I'll have it linked down in the description, but that thing is literally never in stock, and whenever it is, it only lasts for seriously like 5 minutes before it sells out again. The ASUS VP249QGR is certainly much easier to get your hands on, and I would highly recommend it here in 2020 if you're looking for a budget 1080p and 144Hz display. Well, that wraps up my review on the ASUS VP249QGR, and as always, drop a comment down below about what you thought of this monitor or what other gaming monitors you want to see me review next. And after that, feel free to head on over to one of these two videos if you haven't seen them yet. Definitely hit that subscribe button and make sure you're following me over on Twitch, because I think I'm going to use this in an upcoming live stream actually.